Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. Drama continues to emerge between big AR and big SMG in the CDL, following what we saw at Major 1 in Madrid, where on certain maps such as Hacienda and Control, we saw 4 Jackals per team on occasion. The pros have decided it's time to nerf the Jackal and bring the AR back to power. Many of the ARs wanted another AR to be in the game instead, and to be un-GA'd. That seemingly is not what the pros have decided to do. They are nerfing the Jackal in a roundabout way. Is this a good idea? Has Big AR won again? Is it going to destroy the SMGs? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today as well. Starting here with a couple of Rostermania things. Encourage, I'm sure, would like to be getting a spot into the league. Of course, he's been, well, on a couple of teams, most notably on the Stallions, the FaZe Black, whatever you want to say, roster for Zuma. But after he was dropped by the team, Zuma then just blew it up and decided, all right, we're not bothered with that anymore. The team's been taking the mick, basically. So Encourage is still a notable player. And as he says here, it's always who's the best player, never what's the best team. I thought an interesting assessment, because that, to be fair, is kind of true. The players that tend to get signs are, the best players fundamentally, that look the best on the server, have the best KD, stuff like that. But also, they tend to be from the teams that win. So it kind of goes both ways. And maybe Encourage is going to get picked up, maybe he's not. We saw Hicksy earlier today as well, was dropped by the Vancouver Surge. And he says, like, I'm still looking at potentially staying in NA to play challenges, because, to be fair, that's probably his best chance of getting back into the league again. And there's even some talk from Rafi in the replies from Omits that, yeah, maybe that's what they are going to decide to do. So we'll see if that happens, if Hicksy can stay around. We also have some more Lion Man cards here for you guys. Here we go with the Major 1 tournament Cloud9 New York top 8 placing. This, of course, considering online and LAN. And let's be honest, bit of a stinker for basically everyone here, right? Actually really ugly. Fair play to Simp for turning it around. His hardpoint was still bad, but he recovered from what he had, a 0.7 at the start of the year to actually have a respectable Lion Man card to some degree. His hardpoint was still bad, don't get me wrong, but the other game modes at least were respectably good. Mack, interestingly enough, had the highest damage per 10 minutes for an SMG in a hardpoint for any player in the league. So even I think with Snoopy getting the most kills per 10 minutes, it was Mack that had the most damage per 10 minutes. So he had a really good stage, apart from his Surge, which was pretty woeful. Otherwise, his Lion Man card would be far higher rated. I thought Kremp felt a bit better than this, but I guess with Kremp and with Mack, there is always some inconsistencies there in play. But they probably were still the best players that they had this stage. And Attach was, again, unfortunately, kind of a non-factor, really. You look at his numbers, a 68 overall Lion Man card, it's pretty rough. So they weren't good in any mode, particularly. They lost to everyone. One of the teams that probably should be better than this. Obviously, Sib started to play better. They lost a lot of Game 5s, which was unfortunate. But still, they may need to consider doing something. Maybe they are right now. Maybe they've already done it by the time this video goes live. Who knows? Of course, we've discussed it over the last few days. That's where the Lion Man card stands. There has been discussions, because I think any of these teams in the mid-pack, the realistic reaction is that these teams cannot beat FaZe, cannot beat Thieves if Thieves and FaZe are playing their best stuff. If you're a mid-pack team, a Boston, even a Cloud9, although they've got higher ambitions than that, but anyone in that kind of ballpark, you've got to recognize that Search and Destroy probably needs to be your bread and butter. Like, let's look at Ravens, for example. Is their hardpoint or control top 4 standards? Like, no, not really. They're mediocre, to be honest, and sometimes they get slammed. But Ravens have excellent Search and Destroy, and it carried them to 2nd in the minor, to 4th at the major, and potentially could have been 3rd had they not lost a very, very close series to the Miami Heretics. So if you're a team in the mid-pack, masterclass in Search and Destroy is really what you need. Like, that's what gets you to upset potentially in tournaments. It happened when famously Los Angeles Guerrillas with Slasher won Major 2 in Vanguard, when somehow they made this crazy losers run, winning so many Game 5s and beat FaZe in the final. Like, those runs are always inspired by Search and Destroy. And winning Game 5s is critical. So teams like Boston, teams like Cloud9, I think have to think about it as to, making sure their search is as good as it can be. It's not like Attach had necessarily a bad stage in search, but I think this is when somebody like Illy, even though Illy is not, maybe the best option to get for challenges from a pure statistical perspective right now, he's maybe not looking that good in this particular game, but his Search and Destroy is undoubtedly one of the best S&Ds that you're going to find in the league. So that's why I think that Illy really should be on the radar for many team series, because if you want to improve your search, getting Illy in is not a bad shout. There was also some further discussion on whether the game will change from like the maps that are in the game perspective, basically. So anyway, COD Guru in the reply to this tweet says, hey, when is Vault Search and Destroy getting removed? And Slasher says, hopefully after Skyline gets nuked as well. So yeah, he wants Skyline Search gone as well, or maybe Skyline Hardpoint. I mean, we'll see. Skyline Hardpoint might not be the best map, but it is a bit of a bang out. Skyline Search, it was the deciding map of this most recent tournament, and it's okay to watch. It's not the best map in my opinion. So Slasher wants Skyline gone, then he wants Vault gone, and you know, we'll see if any of this happens. I don't know if Slasher has a real say in this anymore, or even if the pros have a real say in this. It may simply be a case now of basically the league deciding what they are going to do about it. Couple of clips here from Drazah, thought were pretty funny. He was watching back the grand finals, of course, FaZe versus the Los Angeles Thieves, talking all kinds of trash, basically. And but what I wanted to get into really with FaZe is their current win streak run, because they have currently won 12 series in a row since what happened towards the end of last year, where they were not very good. Since the new year, they won 4 series at the minor. They won all of their qualifiers since the new year, and they won everything at the major as well to win the whole thing. So they're currently on a 12 series win streak. 2 of those have gone all the way down to the round 11 against the Los Angeles Thieves, but they're not going to play Thieves for the near future. This is their run through Major 2. Now, OpTic's run is actually quite harder than this, but FaZe have a very easy run, really, compared to what you might expect. They play Vancouver first game back. If they win that, they get to 13 series in a row, and then to get to 14 series in a row, winning, which would break their record. I think they've done 13 wins in a row on a couple of occasions. And FaZe, they're pretty locked in, right? Like, if there's any team I'd say that can beat it, it's them. They play Surge, and after that, assuming they win, they play OpTic. Now, the OpTic series will be to break, I believe, their own win streak record and get to 14 series in a row. So that's a big one. But after that, they play Heretics, Minnesota, Boston, who may be good, but they always smoke, Gentlemates, and Cloud9. So, and maybe Gentlemates and Cloud9 will be better by then, sure. But still, in terms of a Major 2 run, I mean, this is a 6-in-1 bare minimum written all over it, I would say, for FaZe. So, yeah, very interesting to see how that run goes. But FaZe are in a position where they could potentially put the win streak record beyond reach, to be honest. Like, if they were to win all of these series and get to 19, 20 series wins in a row. There was also a bit of a further update on this. We talked about performance coaching over the last few days. I don't know that it's easy to say that, oh, you know, it's good for the mindset and all this stuff. Like, oh, well, you know, take your vitamin D in the morning. Like, I don't know what the performance coaches are saying, probably slightly more, obviously, useful than that type of information. But still, obviously that's relevant for certain players. And Drazah says you're him. So I just thought it was interesting, really, because the FaZe guys have given these performance coaches that they've had, including Matt Fisher recently, lots of credit for helping their team turn around. As I said the other day, for FaZe it's more optimization than it is other teams are limited by skill. Some teams like FaZe are not limited by skill. They're limited by other factors where, performance coaching can help. So I think that's a relevant factor. We'll see whether, teams like OpTic think about it as the season continues to go on. But let's talk about the Jackal and Big AR versus Big SMG, because Dashy said during the event, with what happened on Hassy Control, 8 Jackals, I think we need 1 more AR Nerf or GA Unthinking, right? So obviously he's kind of joking around, right? But the thought process really is the Jackal is getting too good. We've got to do something about it. Couple of options. As Slasher said, actually it wasn't Slasher in the replies, it was Octane, but Slasher I'm sure echoes a similar opinion, that maybe bring back one of the other ARs. So, for example, the M4 or even the Model L, or maybe that new Cypher gun, but I kind of doubt that. So, maybe bring back one of the ARs that was potentially prematurely GA'd. I mean, I said it at the time, that when the pros GA'd these ARs 1 week, like 2 days into the game, it usually will backfire, and usually the SMG becomes too good, which is exactly what has happened. Especially once the pros start to consider and figure out the movement mechanics of the game and stuff like this. So, yeah, Dashy says his M4 class is ready, And Nastie the other day then said, who have I got to pay to get this Jackal Nerf? And Ghosty, who's kind of put himself into a position as being like, you know, the commissioner or whatever, like he definitely takes a bit of a lead now on many of the gentleman's agreement discussions. I mean, he talked about, obviously, the snaking drama with Cloud9 and all this stuff with Sib not that long ago. So Ghosty says he's on the case, he's going to get it sorted. And as of yesterday, in aBeZy's Twitch chat, there was a pinned message that said that the long barrel and the reinforced barrel on the sub has been GA'd, according to aBeZy and JoeDeceives. They're going to use the Game Twist barrel instead. So, yeah, very interesting developments here that the pros have seemingly agreed that they're going to nerf the SMG by getting rid of a couple of the barrel attachments. Now, this is interesting because those barrel attachments are good. Is it going to make much difference to the gun? That is a real matter for debate. Many are saying it ain't going to make any difference. The Game Twist is still very nice. The gun's still going to be really good. No issues at all. Others, though, are saying that actually, you know, this is going to kind of kill the SMGs and the ARs are going to be much better. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. It may make a marginal difference, but I still think the Jackal's going to be pretty damn good. But I guess we'll see, right? Like what the pros decide to do, because some teams may be happy about this, some teams may not be, right? Because, you know, some teams will probably be pretty happy having 3 Jackals on the map. Others may not. They prefer more AR combinations. So that's why it's all rather controversial. And as Parasite says, though, removing long barrel on the Jackal will make things terrible for subs. That was the meta early game before everybody swapped. Aim shoots faster than the Jackal and will kill faster once it drops off to 5 shots. Personally, I think the best solution is reinforced with no muzzle attachment. So I thought that was interesting. Like, look, I always kind of trust Parasite's opinion on this type of stuff because he does tend to know what he's talking about on some things. When it comes to, like, you know, good solutions to the problem, Parasite's pretty good at that. Whether removing long barrel is going to ruin it, I'm not so sure, but we'll see. One alternative solution would be to get rid of the slide to fire rear grip. They allow mobility to go unpunished and easier to bail yourselves out of sprint and being in bad spots. With the movement in last year's game, it was good because you could still move, but you'd be punished for being caught. This game, because you can just slide everywhere with those attachments, maybe not so much the case. So yeah, and Twitter your thoughts in the comments below what you would do. But it does seem like they're stepping in. Big AR is stepping in to handle the business. And it just, the pros, they never like un-GAing a gun. I think if you had to ask the fans on this what they'd prefer to do, the fans don't really like these cheese GAs. And they especially don't really like when decisions are made to make guns worse rather than to make other guns better. And I think that's where I'd like to be. I'd like to be in a world where the Jackal can stay as it is. Potentially the Sorg could come in as a potential other replacement for some of the close quarter combat hills, but of course they GA'd that one as well. But there are better ARs in the game than the aims that the pros presently use. They could use them if they wanted to, and we would have a game where the guns were better and more powerful and more effective, marginally so. Is that for the best? I mean, maybe. Is what they're doing an option? Sure. Will it work? Will it be well balanced? Do I trust the pros to come up with that kind of decision making? Not really. So, yeah, very much into your thoughts and all this stuff in the comments below. Just one final thing here from Zoom I thought was pretty cool. He was looking back on what seems to be the World War II season and looking at some of the numbers from that year. Of course, a year where Zuma probably feels like he could or should have won the World Championship that season, right? Because, of course, FaZe came very close to doing so. They just fell short, and it was EG that won the Grand Finals against Team Caliber in the end. But, yeah, Zuma that season had the most kills of the entire year by a relatively significant margin. So, yes, KD might not have been stunning, but in terms of impact, Zuma was very good at that game. He was, of course, excellent at Advanced Warfare as well, and just thought it was interesting to, because usually we order these by KDs, and obviously by kills is bit of a cheese metric because it's like, well, if you have a big losers bracket run, then obviously you're going to play more serious, you're going to get more kills, but still, it does show some degree of impact over the season. And Zuma was top by a long way, even ahead of his own teammate, of course, in Priestahh. John was on LG for a time that year. Gunner started the year at least on Echo Fox before then moving to Rise Nation. Slasher started on Envy before doing the same. Kenny was on TK the whole time. Very much into your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.